All right, so it takes us to the second, though, of the two boxing fights. We were at the other one, Brian Campbell. Yes. Jermall Charlo defending his WBC middleweight title against Dennis Hogan, winning rather... Would you say rather easily? I would say rather easily. I think in the 7th round. I don't have the numbers right in front of me.
I'd say handily more than easily, because it was brilliant how he set up both knockdowns.
Yes, it was. We were talking about this. We did the prelim stream, which, by the way, is also, I found out from one of our friends here at Showtime, they double streamed it, once on Showtime Sports and also on this channel.
All right.
So for some of you who watched me on this channel, we really appreciate that. I know this is predominantly an MMA show, but for those of you who are coming along to boxing, we really appreciate that. Let me just say this. We had talked about what the challenge was for Jermall in the pre-show, or the prelim show, and we had thought, look, this is an opportunity for you to really stand out, to really show us your boxing ability, in part because there was a bit of a visibility issue for him, and in part because his last two fights, albeit for some different circumstances, Korobov being a good boxer, and then Adams, yes, coming from 154, but he hurt his hand in his own hometown. So he needs to come out and have a dynamic display. I would argue mission accomplished for the most part. Dropping him with that uppercut was phenomenal. I mean, literally taking him off of his feet. The guy did a backwards somersault, and then that little dip to the side, and then I think he crushed him with the left.
Yeah, but throwing the feint first to have Hogan move his guard.
That's what I mean. The feint. He just showed tremendous boxing talent, tremendous athletic ability. Still, the issue is for me, while it's clear at this point, I think. And I said this on the prelim show, I think I stand by it now, he can punch at 160. I don't know why people say he can't punch at 160.
I don't know who those people are.
Well, there's some dumbasses out there, but he could punch at 160. Still, I just don't know that was the kind of performance that got people to say, wow, that was amazing. It was the kind of performance where I saw people saying afterwards, yeah, that's what you should have done. And he did.
Well, he
needs to do that against somebody people really, truly
100%,
care about.
100%. Now, you certainly could get a hardcore cynical, and by the way, there's no cynics, like a boxing cynic, that could say, well, you're supposed to do that against Hogan. But Hogan's a durable dude with a weird style. But Charlo did what he's supposed to do from the standpoint, if you want to produce a GIF, you want to produce a highlight reel knockout, and that's ultimately what he did. And did you see the relief on his face afterwards? He had been so combative in the buildup. At the weigh-in, man, he was just tied really damn tight, and to see him just all happy jojo afterwards showed you the pressure he put on himself to be that guy again. Who's that guy? The guy that when he moved up from a successful run as a title holder at 154 had those 2 title win knockouts against Island and against Centeno Jr. Spectacular. We were talking, is he pound for pound? Is he on the way there? Like you mentioned, the 2 decision fights slowed him down a bit, but now it's time really to get him in there with the biggest name you possibly can. And it's not a secret that DAZN has invested heavily in the middleweight division. So the big names like a Canelo, a Triple G, and Andrade, for now are on the other side of the street unless promoters are willing to play ball. But you're building up now names on the Showtime, Fox, BBC side that are getting interesting. I don't know if you saw Sergey Derevyanchenko in the crowd.
He called him out.
He's a promotional free agent.
Yep.
And you have Chris Eubank Jr. on that undercard. All right,
so let me get to that. We didn't talk about this. This part I'm actually really curious to get your opinion. So if you guys didn't see the fight, Korobov and Eubank were in the co-main event. Again, the main event and co-main event, all 160-pounders, all middleweights. The thought was Eubank Jr. coming in, brash, athletic, aggressive, not the most technical boxer, but the kind of guy who could just put the heat on you with big punches, coming off that nice win over DeGale. So we thought, if he can get by Korobov, man, that's your next guy. And he was chirping all fight week, which would, annoyed Jermall Charlo. I really think the way that ended kind of hurt things a little bit for Eubank, a little bit for Showtime as well.
I can counter that, though.
Okay, fair enough. Here's my thought. I still want to see Eubank take on Charlo because I kind of felt like, yes, Korobov was doing well early, but we all knew that the second half of that fight was going to be Eubank's fight in all likelihood. Still, throwing the shoulder out, you just didn't get a chance in your U.S. debut to take the British flag and stamp it in Brooklyn and say, I will defend this.
It was to call Charlo's name out afterwards.
Yeah. He spent the time saying that it was karma for Korobov.
That was a dick move, but that's by the way, that's on brand.
Yeah, very on brand. Right? But my point being is, you know who he wasn't talking about? He wasn't talking about Charlo. And that, to me, was a bit of a missed opportunity.
It's crazy. Jermall had spent all week yelling at anybody who brought up the name Eubank Jr. In fact, he told me to F off on my podcast when I asked too many questions about Eubank. Yet at the weigh-in, man, I don't know if you saw, Charlo got up pretty close to Eubank when he got off the scale and looked in his eyes. It's such a sexy, marketable fight. From a promotional standpoint, you're right. We didn't get the big look at me now moment. But boxing fans also know who Chris Eubank Jr. is. And one thing that didn't happen that potentially could have is exposure, because he could have gotten exposed against a technical boxer like Korobov, who is such a tough out and doesn't make you look good because of that amateur experience, 350 fights. It's a cheesy win, but in some cases,
I mean, he was hoisting a belt around his shoulder.
He didn't answer the questions that we needed answered, and I don't think that hurts, though, a potential build toward Charlo and Eubank, because if that was next, and we don't know if it is, the trash talk alone, the highlights you can play of both of them alone, the fact that they already do not like each other and have been talking bad, man, this could be a fun fight, and it would be such a legitimate test of Charlo, just the same as Eubank, because Eubank's already proven he's a knockout puncher at 68. Now he's moving down to his natural weight. It would be wild.
Okay, but the point being is you can hurt sometimes. Sometimes you can not hurt without helping. Sometimes you can do. Sometimes the hurting actually gets right in the way. Here's my point. It's like. You needed some kind of moment to establish a bit of a visible presence. I mean, how many people in the crowd really knew who Eubank Jr. was? The name probably looked familiar. The hardcore certainly knew who he was. Obviously, he's popular across the pond to a degree.
I get it.
I just felt like, they needed
Sometimes a push is better than a loss. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I don't think it hurt it. They could still make it. And again, all the chirping he did at the last press conference, that's all footage they're going to be able to take into any potential fight that they make. At the same time, it would have been nice to see him come back and then finish off Korobov in the 10th or 11th or something, to be like, wow, man, he really is that guy. Because as Paulie Malignaggi had stated, Korobov was an amateur world champion, a legitimate talent, a southpaw as well. It just would have been nice. I don't know.